Hey guys, I'm playing catch up today because I didn't get a chance to make a bunch of videos this week, so I'm trying to make them all right now and see how fast I can get them up. Last night I got to go see Kong Skull Island, and I went to see it in the Regal 4D cinema that they just opened. Like literally the 4D theater just opened 2 days ago. So this was the first movie that they showed in 4D, and this is in Orlando, down on International Drive, which is kind of a fun experience once you live here. And then when you live in Orlando, but you live on the other side of Orlando and you go about your business in a normal, everyday manner, it's always funny when you go back to the tourist side and you can actually look at you can immediately tell who the tourists are. It's the funniest thing to me because a few years ago I would have been one of the tourists, but now I live here. That being said, me and my sister and my mother and my grandmother, we all went to go see Kong Skull Island. And it's really interesting that my grandmother came with us because she's 89 years old and she actually saw the original King Kong in the movie theater when she was a little girl back in 1935 or 33. Whenever the original King Kong came out in the 30s, that's when my grandmother went to see it. She said she paid 5 cents to see it, but she didn't really like it. She liked Frankenstein and Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Dracula, and I guess the Wolfman. She liked all those. She didn't really care for King Kong back then, but she did like this King Kong. And I'm the same way with her. I've never liked King Kong as a character. I've never found it interesting. I've seen some of the older King Kong movies, including there's one that was in the 70s, 78, 79. There was another one that was around 2006. Didn't like them. Didn't even like Mighty Joe Young. Never been a King Kong fan. But when I heard that they were opening a 4D theater, which if you don't know what 4D is, it's one step beyond 3D, which it does include the 3D. So things are coming out from the theater screen at you with your 3D glasses. However, within the theater, they also have these jets. So if there's smoke on the screen, they'll blow smoke in the theater, or mist. If it's raining, you're going to get rained on a little bit. We actually got splashed when there was a scene when blood splattered. We got splashed with water to make it feel like we got splashed with blood too. In addition to that, you're sitting in seats that move and rumble with the different actions in the movie. Although with this movie, they kind of overdid that, but I'll get back to that in a hot second. So, like I was saying about my disinterest with King Kong, the only reason I went to go see King Kong was because it was in 4D and it was the 4D theater had just opened, and I've been wanting to go to a 4D theater for a while now, but we didn't have one in Orlando until just now. So we all decided to go see King Kong, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I liked this King Kong story as opposed to the previous King Kongs. This story, I liked being able to see King Kong more as the hero instead of as an allegory for other things that I won't even go into because I just want to talk about a fun monster movie, which this is. Now, what I was going to come back around to saying about the 4D seats and them moving around for different parts of the movie, there were times when it was overdone, like when the movie started and they're showing the credits, and every time a name came across the screen, the seats are shaking. We don't need that. We don't need starring, directed by. Like, no, that's too much. You don't need all that. Just wait until, the action happens. Now, when the action did happen, that was fun. There was a part when Kong started beating on his chest and the chair is beating you in the back when Kong is beating on his chest. That was cool. One of the best scenes in 4D is the helicopters. When the helicopters, as you saw in the trailer, are going down and the seats are shaking as if you are riding in that helicopter. That was very cool. I will say, for people who don't like the sensation of water because like I said earlier, if there's mist, it's going to mist at you, and rain drops and all that. There is a button on the seat to turn the water off. So if you don't want water, splashed on you, you can do that. You can't really eat when you're in the 4D seats because you're jostling around way too much to try to eat. But it was like a ride, Universal Studios ride, for example, which I can say I actually went on something that doesn't exist anymore. Back in the 90s, there used to be a ride at Universal Studios called Confrontation, and I actually got to ride that ride at least like 10 times. That's not there anymore. I think they have the Mummy ride in place of where Confrontation was. But it was a ride that you would go on, and it was a tram, and it would go through the city, and at one point in the ride, King Kong would grab the tram and kind of shake you like this. That was a pretty cool ride. I kind of missed that. I hope they bring it back. Hopefully if this movie gets really popular, they'll bring it back. Okay, more about the movie. The Samuel L. Jackson character, he did an awesome job. Actually, all the actors did a really good job. The only criticisms I have is in some of the writing, which I wish they would have went a little bit less traditional. And what I mean by traditional, I mean the whole, there's got to be a pretty white couple as, the heroine and the hero. I thought, why don't we just shirk, convention and do something a little different, especially since I felt like Tom Hiddleston's character, he was not believable to me as a rugged tracker type guy. I think it would have been cool if they pulled a Hitchcock and got rid of his character and let one of the lesser known actors move into the position as the hero, because there was another actor there that I felt like, well, this guy is more of a leading man type to me, but he was just a side character. But his charisma stood out more to me than Tom Hiddleston's, and I'm like, well, why didn't they just switch that? Why didn't they make this guy be the hero? If you've seen the movie, I'll just describe it as the guy who had written the letters to his sons. So if you've seen the movie, that's the character I'm talking about. I would have preferred to see him be kind of the hero. And also there's another scene where, I can't remember the actress's name, Brie Larson, I think. She touches King Kong, which is, I guess, an homage to the whole Fay Wray thing with King Kong. But I felt like it would have been better if they had, there is an Asian female character, I'm sorry her name escapes me. I think it would have been better if she touched Kong, because I believe her character was supposed to be a zoologist. So that would have made more sense to me, and it just would have been, a little bit different. Because her character didn't have a whole lot to do anyway. She was never in danger. She never really, I don't think she did anything to help the situation. She was just there. And actually, me and my sister had a short conversation about that. My sister basically said, well, that character's there, to draw in the Chinese market, because, these movies go overseas. And I was thinking, well, I can see that, but also I would think that there would be more Asian characters in movies. But I mean, it's just weird. Hollywood doesn't seem to want to cast Asians in anything, major. And I don't get it. Do they not realize that America's largely Asian as well? I don't know. But anyways, I thought that her character, it would have been cooler if her character became one of the main characters. But I know Brie Larson is going to be our Miss Marvel, and Tom Hiddleston is Loki. So, they're supposed to be the big names. But the thing about it is, names don't sell movies anymore. No one cares. People care more about the story. People care more about some of the effects, the action. They don't care about big names anymore. A perfect example that we just saw, Get Out. There was no one in that movie that was super well known, but the movie was very successful. Why? Because it had a good story. It was executed well. It's not like how it used to be. Back in the 80s and the 90s, you'd put name in lights. Oh, I'm going to see whatever so-and-so is in. I think the only people nowadays that might have that kind of cachet would be like The Rock and Vin Diesel. I think they might still have that name power. Tom Cruise, I think, still has that name power. And I think Scarlett Johansson has that name power. But other than that, I feel like there isn't as much name power. And I don't think there needs to be when your main character is really the monster. King Kong is the star of this movie. So I don't even think there was a need to even have Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson there, other than, you know, we need to, you know, maintain the status quo. And it wouldn't have been that noticeable if it wasn't for these times where they would take a moment to have these shots of, oh, look at the couple, the main hero and heroine. Let's, you know, make them look, you know, how you would never look in that situation. The biggest thing was Brie Larson's hair. Her hair was perfect in every scene. No, if you are in a jungle with a bunch of monstrous creatures that are trying to kill you, you think every hair is going to be in place? No. It was ridiculous. There were other parts of this movie that kind of reminded me of Anaconda. Like when they were on this boat for a time being, there were some shots that really reminded me of Anaconda, which is funny because comparatively one would be considered a lot lower budget, but I don't know, it just reminded me of Anaconda. Anyways, this was, for me, as a person who doesn't like King Kong, for me to like a King Kong movie is a pretty big deal. So I'm definitely gonna say this is a good movie, and it's something you got to see in the theaters. I wouldn't watch this on a regular TV. It has to be in theaters, and if you can see it in 3D, see it in 3D. If you can see it in 4D, go and see it in 4D. It was so much fun. And I hope that they actually start to re-release movies in 4D, because there's movies that I would love to see in 4D. Like they should re-release stuff like Jurassic Park, and like I said, Anaconda. I would watch Anaconda in 4D. That would be so much fun. One other thing, stay for the after credits. There's an after credit scene, if you haven't heard about it already, and it sets something up that's very exciting, at least for me. I want to talk about it, but it's a spoiler. I'll have to do a separate video. Okay, I just want to talk about the after credit scene real quick. It pretty much alludes to King Kong being in a shared universe. And it shows that, it doesn't show the actual creatures, but it shows evidence that they exist via like kind of these cave drawings. And they show the drawing of Godzilla, they show Mothra, they show Rodan. I feel like they show another one, but I can't remember. And I was sitting there thinking, oh, are they going to show Gamera? And then my sister had to tell me, no, Gamera is a separate entity that was never part of the Godzilla verse. And I was like, wow. Because, I mean, I saw these movies when I was 4 or 5 years old. So I thought they were all part of the same thing. Because Gamera was my favorite. It was like a little spinning turtle thing. And one of the movies had the miniature ladies that sang. What movie was that? I don't know whether that was maybe it was Mothra. I want to say it was Mothra, not 100% sure. But how cool is it going to be that we're going to have the inevitable adversaries of King Kong versus Godzilla, but we're going to get a Mothra movie and a Rodan movie, and can't remember the last one. I'll look it up if there was another one, but I feel like there was another one. Anyways, stay for the after. Well, if you're watching this video, hopefully you already saw the after credits scene, and I'm not just spoiling it for you, but yeah, I'm excited for that.